Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here for a discussion with you, sir.
Yes, please.
My question is that it's pretty evident that I exist and you exist. And also, you stated that ego doesn't exist.
Great.
Yes. So, when someone calls you Acharya Prashant and
Yeah.
you reply,
Yes.
isn't that an identification which reflects an ego?
It is a thing that is useful to the other.
Yeah, it is a utility for the other.
It is a
Would
utility
you
for the
make
other.
would you make an absolute statement that spiritually, would you make an absolute statement that I am not Acharya Prashant, I am something else,
Not to you.
which only I know?
Not to you.
Not
To
to me,
you.
but
To you.
yourself,
Wait.
would you make that statement?
To you, I'll say something that is useful to you. That I
No,
am
but
the
absolutely,
absolute. What the absolute can be uttered only to the absolute. The absolute and the false cannot engage in a conversation. So that is why even when the truth has to engage with the ego, it uses words. Remember that every single word represents a concept and is therefore, in a sense, flawed and false. But to engage with the ego, one has to have an identity, one has to use words, one has to act in a bodily way. Otherwise, even the body is false.
but who is that one? Isn't that one again nothing but an ego?
Which one?
No, when I said one has to engage in a inward conversation with the ego, but
Yeah.
who is that one who has to engage the conversation with the ego? Isn't it again
That is
ego?
that one is the one the ego has been craving for. The ego is the questioner, right? Because the ego does not have the solutions and answers,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
there is something that the ego desperately wants. So there does exist something beyond the ego. That is the one.
Okay. So if the questioner is ego, then the answerer is again ego.
The answer is ego. Yes.
Is again ego. So are you trying to say there is some kind of okay? I have many questions actually. I don't want to pose it in the follow-up, but are you trying to say there's some observer who is behind the questions and answers?
No, you should be asking if the questioner is the ego and the answerer is the ego, then
Yes, ego.
is there a way the ego itself can help the ego? That should be the question.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
the
yes.
answer there is yes. The truth is absolute but not useful, because the ego cannot touch the truth. The ego cannot communicate with the truth. Therefore, it is ego at a higher level that is useful to ego at a relatively lower level. That's why we have stages of consciousness, hierarchies.
About consciousness, another question. I have many questions regarding this fundamental definitions.
Please.
What do you mean by consciousness?
So, on my screen, there are the two of us, you and me. That's consciousness. To say I am and to perceive a world around you that you call as the other. That is consciousness.
But the other is the appearance, right?
The other is the appearance in your mind. So, there is the experiencer and there is the experienced object. These two are consciousness.
Both together complete consciousness.
You cannot have just one of them.
Yes, one doesn't exist without the other. Like, for example, there is no doer without the doing, and there is no speaker without the sound.
Yes.
Yes, it's true. Independent of what it is conscious of.
No.
You cannot have consciousness independent of its object.
Of appearances.
Of its object. There is the subject, the experiencer, and
Object means
unfortunately, what we call as the common consciousness always requires an object, and that is at the root of all our suffering.
So are you saying in an uncommon consciousness, both the experiencer and the experience disappear?
Need not talk of that, because we are trying to understand that uncommon thing from a very common point, and that is not useful.
Oh, sir, I'm here for absolute understanding, whether it's useful or not.
No, spirituality is about, first of all, starting from what is provable. Right now, the absolute is just fiction to you. Spirituality is not about gossiping about fiction.
I don't know if the absolute is fiction, but the word absolute is definitely fiction to me.
Yes, and let it remain fiction. What we must care about is our immediate life, because that's the reason the speaker and the listener are corresponding. If everything is all right in our immediate life, then there is no need for this discussion. This discussion happens because we perceive something amiss, because there is an inner hollow. So that's what we must talk about. Spirituality proceeds on very, very real grounds. It does not dabble in imagination. It does not talk about this or that God or heavens or imagined universes. It talks about how you are living right now. Therefore, its aim is amelioration of immediate suffering, not discussion of imagined entities or fiction or whatever.
Scriptures do state that self is in inaction.
Right.
So, how would you convince this to a commoner that despite him listening to you, you have to convince him that his true self is not the listener?
It's very easy. You see, right now, let's say 10 of you are listening to me, let's say, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is probably one thing. I'm not uttering 10 different statements. But the 10 who are listening to me, if they are asked to write down what I have just said, and then exchange notes with each other, you will find a great deal of variance in the notes. In fact, you might find that some points in the notes contradict each other. Now, obviously, had the listener been one, there could have been no variance. Therefore, the listener cannot be called to be the truth. The listener has a great deal of subjectivity, and that subjectivity is what brings about haziness and falseness. So, the one who is listening is usually not listening for the truth. The one who is listening is usually listening from his own center to defend his own interests, and that's what brings about the variance in the notes. So it's an easy thing to just see and prove to yourself.
No, to a commoner, like for example, the Club of Omega has conducted this meet. So, from the absolute point of view, it's like stating you are not the one who's conducting the meet.
That's very true.
It might sound crazy for someone who is not.
Yes, and you must be prepared to face that craziness, because you see, not only have you not conducted this meet, you are also not the one uttering these statements right now.
Yes, exactly.
Wait. No, wait. You are also not the one who probably chose to take admission in a particular college. You are also not the one who falls in love with a particular person. You are also not the one who goes towards a particular food choice or sartorial choice. We are driven by the configuration of our body and the conditioning of our mind. Therefore, we are really not the doers or the actors, And that is very, very easy to see. When you see people moving about in herds, when you see people making choices as a crowd, then it is obvious that those people do not exist as choosers, because there has been no choice really. It's either your body that decides for you, or people outside of you and conditions outside of you that make the choices. So therefore, the chooser does not really exist, and there is no complication in communicating this to the other, provided one has clarity. So do not think that there is something so crazy that you cannot just communicate it to the other. It's possible, and it's also facile.
It's like, no, it sounds crazy for someone who hasn't actually gone through it. For example, it's like you just go for a 10-kilometer jog and you come back and you have to accept the fact that you're not the one who jogged 10 kilometers.
Yeah, you can have, for example, a Google car and it has done 10
Yeah.
kilometers. Has it done anything on its own? A Google car, forget any car. Your car, its dashboard, it's telling you it's done 2 lakh kilometers. Has it done anything on its own? And it's possible that the driver of the car is just another car.
Yes, that was good. That was a very good analogy. Yeah. So, what you're trying to say, the concepts of effort, choices are just illusions. Effort.
If you can see that, it will take you very, very far or very, very close to yourself.
Yes, true. What we call as effort is basically the sensations and the little thought, that very highly identified thought, which we call as effort.
Don't even need to say that much. Just say what we call as effort is just like the heating up of the car engine. Much fuel has been burnt, a lot of energy has been dissipated, a lot of distance has been covered, but nothing really has been done because there is no chooser there.
Right. I think there's a very important statement which people should understand, because they live with the notion that they can actually do something when they're when that very form or the appearance of doing it comes out of nowhere. There is no particular explanation.
But at the same time, kindly don't rush to conclude that choice is not possible at all, or that free will cannot exist at all. Potentially it can, actually it does not. And that's the travesty of human life. Our potentiality remains uncovered. A car has no choice. The car is never really going to make a choice. Even potentially it has no choice. But as human beings, it is possible for us to go beyond our configuration and conditioning and make great choices, make free choices. Unfortunately, we do not do that.
Again, choices only, they encourage the individuality, right? The choices and the efforts, all these.
Most of what we call as free choices are just conditioning in another garb.
Okay. I have one more question, which is like the philosophy which you support, called Advaita Vedanta. It treats self as an entity.
Which self, the false or the real one?
The real.
No, it does not.
So does it? Okay, maybe I'm not very well informed.
Yeah, you are not.
I had a doubt. If it is an entity, then an entity should be made of smaller entities.
No. The true self or the absolute is not even something you can think of. That's why I said absolute to the ego is just fiction. It is not an entity. It is not material. It is beyond mind, beyond intellect, beyond comprehension. The eyes do not reach it. The mind cannot think of it. The tongue cannot talk of it. So it's not an entity of at all.
It's formless.
I'm saying it does not exist at all in the way we use the word existence.
Okay. Well, existence, we define it in general, it's defined by the forms, right?
We say this exists. It has a form, it has a smell, it has a form, it has smell, it is something that can be ideated. It is available to mentation and conceptualization. Even when it did not exist, it firstly existed as an idea. The truth, the self, cannot exist even as an idea, let alone a material form.
Yes, but I asked a question in the middle, which is, are you trying to say that the truth is formless?
No, what I'm saying is the truth is nothing that you can think of. If you say truth is formless, again you have violated the truth.
Yes, the very formless, that word again is a form. I
Great.
get what you're saying,
Great.
but
Great.
I'm trying to actually saying like,
If
it's
you
not
want
a
to,
form. Let me say what it's not. Rather than focusing on what it is, let's see what it is not.
That's
it is not a
that's
form.
the way of Advait
Thank you.
Vedant. That's
Yeah,
the way
thank
of
you.
Advait Vedant, the way of negativa,
Yeah.
the way of negation, neti neti. Just say what it is not, so that you stay clear of
What is not?
falseness.
I had a lot of troubles. I was getting caught up with words. The moment I try to define it, the very definition becomes the object of interest. It goes, and it was a continuous loop. It went on and on and on.
Stay
And
with the
then
negation.
I just came to know. To be honest, I can never say what it is. I can only say what it is not.
Yes, yes,
And then I
yes.
started to go by that way. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for answering. But I have one more question.
Please.
A question, which is, it is stated that the self or the fundamental nature in every life is same. It's non-dual. Can you logically prove it to me?
Go back to the previous discussion, the one that we were having just a minute back. All that can be proven, is that which all sentient beings think of their nature is false. You cannot prove that their real nature is one, but you can prove that whatever they call as their nature is not their nature, it is false. So they are united by way of this negation. Negate everything that they think of or believe in or identify with, and you are left with this nothingness, and all zeros are equal to each other, right? And that's the way the height of consciousness or the base of consciousness or the non-dual nature of all beings is one, because all zeros are equal to each other. That's just a way of putting it. You get this?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but is it even right to conclude that consciousness is one or it is not dual?
No, it is not even one. The scriptures put it very clearly. It is not two. You begin you begin with actually 2 million, and they say all diversity is false. So not 2 million, then not 2, and then not even 1. Not even 1.
Okay, so you're saying only it is.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay, I'll say what it is not. So it is not two, it is not one. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah, stop there.
Okay,
And when you stop there, the ego stops. And that's the goal of all spirituality.
Okay, the discussion which actually borrowed a lot of ideas in my head. I can't believe I came up with the negation. It's like sometimes you get the way, but suddenly you forget about the negation. And then you go back to the old ways searching what is it.
That's the trap. That's the trap. To never think of anything as affirmative. Nothing concludes anything, nothing proves anything. A word for the truth is aprameya. And aprameya means that which cannot be proven. It is beyond all proof. It is beyond the might of the one trying to prove. The truth is beyond prama. It is aprameya.
Prameya. Okay. The next one is going to be a very basic question, sir. Like two basic questions. It's often observed by the speaker, myself, speaker, that the word awareness is being used in the places where the word knowledge should be used. For example, awareness for LGBT activism. Is awareness the right word to be used, or is it knowledge?
You see, does that surprise you that we conflate the highest with the middling. That's the way we all live. That's the way the world is. Awareness is the highest word that there can be. But just as in our lives we have no respect for the highest, even our language has no respect for the highest.
Yes, sir. Actually. And then very often people are being taught how to concentrate in all the meditation camps
Hmm.
in the promise that they will attain something called highest. But why, if we actually concentrate and get something, is it even, isn't it more of an accumulation? So my question is, could you differentiate between these three key terms called awareness, attention, and concentration?
Awareness and
You
attention
might not
both
be able
have,
to define awareness since you said it's the highest. At least define what concentration or attention is.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
in both concentration and attention there is an object. Okay? In concentration, the concentrator, the subject, is looking at that object with an intention towards self-preservation. For example, a cobra appears in front of you, you will concentrate on it. The intention is not to understand the cobra, but to save your own life, self-preservation. When the exam dates approach, you concentrate on your textbooks. The intention is not really to understand what is going on, but to somehow survive the examination. That's concentration, in which the intention of the subject is self-preservation. Right? You're looking at something and you want to remain who you are. In fact, you are looking at that thing in a very focused way just to secure your own existence. That is concentration.
It's again of the ego.
Obviously, where there are two, there is the ego. So that goes without saying. Right? Now come to attention. In attention, again there are two. But the intention changes. Now the attentive one is saying, my existence or continuity or preservation do not matter. I am looking at that object to understand that object. I am attending to that object. I am a servant to that object. The object comes first, I come later. The object comes first, I come later. Here again, obviously, the whole process, the phenomena is dualistic because there are two. But the intention has changed. You know the word attend. Attend means to serve. I am a servant of the object I am looking at, and that is attention. And if the process of attention goes deep enough, then obviously you keep the object so much ahead of yourself, you keep it so much more important than yourself, that your own size diminishes greatly. It diminishes so much that figuratively it is said that you disappear. And that disappearance is awareness. In attention, you attend to the object you are looking at. You are experiencing, perceiving, whatever, focusing on, whatever. It is in your sensory field or mental field, whatever. And that object you have evaluated to be so very important that you forget all about your own security and you let that object reign supreme. When that object becomes so much important to you, it becomes so big to you, then your own size diminishes. And your own size can diminish so much that it can be metaphorically said to have reduced to near zero. And that disappearance of the self, the perceiver, the subject is called awareness.
I am saying, am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now.
Sir, as you explained about awareness, so can we understand this awareness with the help of any example?
No example is possible. You can have examples of things and objects. You cannot have an example of disappearance. You are asking me, can there be an example of nothing? Awareness means you are gone.
I'm saying a player totally indulge into playing. Can it be said that he is in that state?
He can be very attentive, but he cannot move into awareness. Reason is simple. In attention, the one you are attending has to be so extremely dominating, so very beautiful, so worthy of adulation, that you give your consent to your reduction or disappearance or annihilation. You do not want to die for trivia, do you? You would want to lay down your life for only something colossal. Now, a player is not involved in anything colossal. Therefore, he can have attention but not awareness.